Will Smith knows how to keep the audience interested? A couple of months ago, everyone was talking about The Matrix with him, which ended up being a music video, and now he's teasing Hancock 2 with Zendaya. Today we'll discuss what started the fuss and how likely we'll see a sequel to the 2008 hit. I Am Legend 2. We've been waiting for several years, but it still hasn't come out. Is Hancock going to suffer the same fate? Let's take it one step at a time. Get comfortable, because it's going to be interesting, as always. Just the other day, Smith unexpectedly took part in a stream by former Canadian esports player, Felix Lengyel. The actor talked about the film industry and upcoming projects and actively answered fans' questions. After talking, he told me that he had recently discussed a great idea for a Hancock sequel. And even more so, one of the main roles had allegedly already been offered to Zendaya. And naturally, this news stirred up the internet. The legendary role of a superhero, the alcoholic played by Smith, is remembered by many. 20 years ago, it was an original take on the genre with an excellent cast. And although Marvel was just beginning, we had already seen the Sam Raimi trilogy and the first X-Men, so Hancock was remembered with his atypical approach and original humor. It is interesting that the script for the first film was written back in 1996, and only had the title, He Will Come Tonight. The main character was more like Homelander than a cute drunkard. However, the project had already attracted the attention of the director Tony Scott, but was stuck in development hell for 6 years. During this time there were attempts to launch production, and the script was rewritten several times until 2005, when Peter Berg took over directorial duties, and Will Smith signed on to play the grumpy superhero. And even after that, the film faced serious difficulties. Initially, the project had an adult rating, which could have significantly limited its audience and affected the box office. Superhero films are traditionally aimed at family viewing, and the producers wanted to minimize the risks, especially considering the project's budget. Now, Deadpool has already proven several times that blood and dirty jokes on the screen do not prevent you from collecting almost $1 billion if you do it with the character's consciousness. But 20 years ago, this was hard to imagine. As a result, Hancock's original script underwent significant changes for the 100th time to make the film commercially attractive and get a teenage rating. In general, this did not prevent it from gaining audience love, although we could have seen a completely different picture. It must be said that the process of creating the film itself was complicated by disagreements between the key figures of the project. The film crew led by Smith constantly argued with the producers of the film. Their conflicting views on what the main character should be like led to numerous rewrites of the script literally on the knee, and although Hancock ultimately turned out to be commercially successful, reviews for it remain at an average level due to problems with the plot and insufficiently developed characters for the final version of the script. Of the first part, it is none other than Vince Gilligan. He gave us the legendary Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul if Gilligan takes part in the work, and it turns out that he proposed an option for the continuation. There is no doubt that it will turn out, if not brilliant, then very worthy. By the way, he himself recently completed work on a new sci-fi series that is soon to be released on Apple TV. The date is still kept secret, but it is known that filming took place in Albuquerque and was completed at the end of last year. The showrunner announced that he wrote a script for an as-yet unnamed project, specifically for actress Rhea Seehorn, who many remember from Goodman's solo film. The author himself compares the upcoming sequel to Steven Spielberg's E.T. and promises a truly exciting spectacle. Now Gilligan is free from any obligations. He is probably looking for a new project, in which, in light of the latest news, Hancock 2 may very well become the main character. In general, the idea of a sequel has been discussed for many years, and the project has still not moved forward. Dead point. The first film, released back in 2008, was What the Boys Are Now, and only with a rating of 12+, we were told the story of an unusual superhero, John Hancock, who, possessing incredible abilities, suffered from problems with his image and public perception. Despite mixed reviews, the films were a tangible commercial success, grossing over $600 million worldwide on a budget of $150. It is no wonder that immediately after the release of the first part, talks began about a possible sequel. Smith repeatedly expressed interest in returning to the role of Hancock, and screenwriters were even hired to work on the sequel. Gilligan, as we already understood, was actively involved in Breaking Bad. Therefore, at that time, he did not take part in writing the script for the sequel. However, despite the initial enthusiasm, Hancock 2 faced some difficulties, the main one of which was finding a suitable idea for the sequel. The first film ended on a completely logical note. Developing a plot for the sequel turned out to be Smith, being one of the most sought-after actors in Hollywood, was also busy with other major projects like Men in Black Focus and Suicide Squad, as was Charlize Theron, who was in great demand. Nevertheless, interest in the Hancock sequel from fans, and the studio has remained all these years. The unique concept of the film, which combines elements of a superhero action movie and comedy, still attracts the attention of the audience. Many viewers would like to see how the hero's story will develop further, especially given several open questions regarding his past and future. In recent years, Will Smith has repeatedly mentioned the possibility of returning to the role. Hancock has emphasized that there must be a really strong script for this. The actor is known for his careful approach to choosing projects, and he doesn't want to star in the sequel if it doesn't meet high standards. And judging by Smith's latest statement, they did find an original idea. But what will the sequel be about? And what role will Zendaya play in it? The director of the original film, Peter Burke, confirmed plans to film Hancock 2 back in 2012, by which time he already had the first draft of the script in his hands, and Smith and Theron agreed to return to their roles, with the latter doing so publicly, stating that she was ready to play Mary at the first call. All that was left was to agree with the studio about production and agree on the actors' schedules. However, the phenomenal debut of Downey Jr. and Jon Favreau disrupted plans for a sequel. The Marvel Cinematic Universe in 2010s accelerated so much that the authors of Hancock considered that they would not be able to compete with their vision. They simply did not have enough fan base to repeat the success. So all work was postponed. The script was put in a distant drawer after another 8 years in 2020. Charlize Theron again confirmed her readiness to return to the sequels and at the same time made it clear that the work did not progress beyond the draft. She also revealed some details of the continuation. Most likely, some of them will safely migrate to the next part, because the scriptwriters usually start from the materials of the predecessors in the first film. We were shown the story of the superhero John Hancock, who is criticized by everyone for destroying the heroic deeds that accompany him. Will throw the robbers' cars onto the building, or the train will derail and crash into him. In general, that's all Batman disliked Superman for, only with the taste of whiskey and bourbon. In the second film, they were going to expand the story of the immortal godlike characters of Smith and Theron. It turned out that they were not the only ones of their kind who were still alive. It's just that others were a little better at hiding and leading a measured life among ordinary people. In one of the interviews, the director of the first film even hinted that in the sequel, we will see the backstory of the main characters and the new god who will become the main antagonist. But not right away, but closer to the end, because he will have some feelings for the heroine of Charlize Theron. Naturally, a Blizzard will play this role star actor who will attract additional attention of the audience. This concept has been somewhat transformed once one of the main roles was offered to Zendaya. The connection of the new heroine may now be with Smith there. After all, gods in theory should not age. However, with all due respect, Zendaya would rather be suited to the role of Hancock's daughter. He has lost his memory, much of his past, does not remember the birth of his child, and further attempts to establish a connection with him seem like a logical step to the same. Zendaya will attract a young audience to the project, and the theme of children and parents never gets boring in Hollywood. It is unclear only who in this case will act as a villain. The plot will already be supplemented with this line, and a star of the first magnitude will be attracted for this character, unless Zendaya herself turns out to be the evil daughter, and at the end of the film there will be a general reconciliation, but these are already complete theories, so we will not get into them. Summing up, it is necessary to say that Smith's words instill hope that we will someday see a sequel to Hancock. After all, the film was very good. At least it will be able to pay off on a wave of nostalgia. The same story is happening now with the sequel to I Am a Legend. We have known for 3 years that there will be a sequel, and the main roles will be played by Smith and Jordan, but production still has not started either. The script is wrong, the schedules cannot be agreed upon, or the studio makes its own amendments. Production hell interferes with both sequels with Smith's participation, although he does not seem to be losing heart. So neither do we won't, but rather wait for new details. Be sure to share your thoughts on the continuation of Hancock in the comments. Does he need a sequel now, or is this a surefire idea? Well, that's all for today. See you in new videos soon.